My husband drugged me with sleeping pills so he could crawl into the guest room and sleep with my sister while I was drowning in grief after my miscarriage. Then he let her wear my perfume, slip into my lingerie, and drink coffee from my mug that said "World Best Wife." I saw the signs, I felt it in my bones, and I still did not explode right away. I stayed quiet on purpose. I smiled on purpose. I let them think I was too broken to notice, because I wanted proof, not drama. And when the truth finally came out, I made sure it came out in front of the people who mattered most. I need you to understand something about my sister before you judge me for letting her into my home. Emma was my older sister, but when we were kids, she felt like the only person in the family who ever stood next to me. Our parents did not even try to hide their favoritism. Emma got the best of everything. The better clothes. The better birthday parties. The attention. The pride. If Emma breathed, our parents treated it like an achievement. If I did something good, they treated it like luck. But Emma back then used to notice it. Sometimes she would sneak me the dessert I was not supposed to have, because my parents would say I did not earn it. She would come into my room and drop a candy bar in my lap like it was a secret mission. She would whisper that it was not fair, that I deserved it too. She even stole small gifts from me sometimes. Little cheap things from a store, like a bracelet or a cute notebook. She would act like it was no big deal, but I remember those moments, because they made me feel seen. When I cried, she was the one who told me it would be okay. So, even though she was the favorite, I still loved her. I still trusted her. I still believed that deep down she was my sister first, not just our parents' golden child. That is why, when I got pregnant, I told her before I told my husband. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed holding the test with shaking hands. I was terrified and excited at the same time. My husband was at work. I could have waited. But my first instinct was to call Emma. She squealed so loud it made me laugh. She kept saying, "This is amazing. This is perfect. You're going to be such a good mom." She cried happy tears for me. When I told my husband later that day, he was over the moon too. He hugged me tight and kept kissing my forehead like I was something fragile and precious. He talked about names, about painting a nursery, about teaching our child how to ride a bike. For a little while, it felt like my life had finally turned into the kind of life I used to daydream about. Then the miscarriage happened and the world turned gray. It is hard to explain how fast grief can swallow you. One day, I was lying beside my husband with my hand resting on my stomach, imagining the future. The next day, I was in the car on the way to the hospital, already knowing something was wrong, even though nobody had said it out loud yet. In the hospital, the nurses were kind. The doctor was gentle. But when the words were finally said, when they confirmed that my baby was gone, something inside me collapsed. It felt like the air got thick. Like someone dropped a heavy blanket over my entire life. After that, everything became slow and heavy. I lost weight fast. I did not shower for days. I stopped caring about basic things like brushing my teeth. I slept at weird times and stayed awake staring at the ceiling at night. When I did sleep, I had nightmares. I would dream about a baby crying, asking me why I let her die, and I would wake up choking on my own sobs. My husband tried, I will give him that. He brought flowers. He bought chocolate. He rubbed my shoulders. He kept saying we can try again, we can heal, we will be okay. But nothing he did could touch the pain in my chest. Grief is not logical. Grief does not care about flowers. The worst part was the shame. Even though miscarriages happen and doctors say it is not your fault, I still felt like I failed. Like my body betrayed my baby. Like I broke our family before it even had a chance to begin. Whenever my husband tried to hug me, I would gently push him away, not because I hated him, but because I hated myself. I felt unworthy of comfort. And apparently, after a while, my husband got sick of watching me fall apart. I did not realize it at first. I thought he was being supportive. But one day, he came home with a surprise. Emma. I still remember my face lighting up when she walked through the door. I had not realized how lonely I felt until I saw her. She hugged me the way only she could, tight and warm, like she was wrapping me back together. I tried to thank her, but she covered my mouth with her palm and told me not to worry about it. She said family takes care of family. That moment felt like a lifeline. And because I was desperate for anything that felt like safety, I made a decision that seemed smart at the time. I asked Emma to move in with us for a few months. Not forever. Just for 3 or 4 months, until I could breathe again. I told myself it would help me. I told myself it would help my marriage too, because the miscarriage had created this quiet distance between me and my husband. I thought having Emma around would bring light back into the house. Emma practically squealed with excitement. Our parents agreed instantly, because in their minds, Emma could do no wrong. They acted like this was a beautiful sacrifice from their favorite daughter, saving the broken one. So Emma moved in. At first, really did help. Those early weeks were my lowest point, but Emma felt like a cushion between me and the floor. When I wanted to stay in bed all day, she did not lecture me. She just brought me water. She rubbed my back. She told me I was allowed to grieve. My husband also seemed relieved. He did not know how to handle what he called my woman emotions. He was the kind of man who wanted to fix things with simple actions like buying gifts, but grief does not work like that. Emma filled the gaps. On nights when my husband and I used to watch movies together, they would watch a movie together instead, while I stayed in bed in the dark. Emma helped him cook meals. She helped take out the trash. She would laugh at his jokes. She created a normal feeling in the house while I fell apart upstairs. I told myself it was good. I told myself it was love. I told myself I was lucky. 2 months passed, and something in me began to shift. I did not wake up suddenly healed. It was slower than that. But one day I got out of bed and put on fresh clothes. I brushed my hair. I walked into the living room like a person again. Emma cheered like I won a medal. She clapped her hands and said she was proud of me. I glanced at my husband, expecting him to smile at me, to look relieved. But he was not looking at me. He was staring at Emma. It was not a casual glance. It was the kind of stare that lingers too long. My stomach tightened, but I blamed hormones. I blamed grief. I blamed my brain for being broken. That night, we went out to eat, my first real outing in months. I actually had an appetite for the first time. We went to a buffet, and I was hungry in a way that felt almost desperate, like my body was trying to prove it still wanted to live. I filled my plate and came back excited. That is when I saw it. My husband's hand was high up on Emma's thigh under the table. Not near her knee. Not a friendly pat. Hi. I froze for a second, and when we locked eyes, he pulled his hand back fast, like a teenager caught doing something wrong. Emma looked down quickly. She tried to hide a giggle. An awful feeling washed through me. Worse than nausea. Worse than grief. Because grief is pain, but betrayal is poison. I looked under the table. Their feet were tangled, kicking each other softly like they were playing a private game. My chest felt tight. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to scream. But something else rose up inside me, something colder and sharper. I remembered every time my parents ignored me. Every time people dismissed my feelings. Every time I tried to speak up and got treated like I was being dramatic. In that moment, I made a decision. I would not give them the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. I would not let them deny it. I would not let them twist the story. I would gather proof. I would play the long game. So I swallowed the rage and I smiled. That night, I went to bed early and told them I was exhausted from the buffet. I did not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. My husband's side of the bed was empty. I knew exactly where he was going. The next morning, Emma was in the kitchen making breakfast, wearing my apron. My husband was at the table scrolling on his phone like nothing happened. Emma hugged me and her hair was slightly messy. My husband's shirt was inside out. I smiled like a fool on purpose. I asked if they slept well. They both nodded too fast. That was the first day I started documenting. I ordered a small camera online, one of those tiny ones disguised as something normal. I plugged it into a living room outlet where it looked like a phone charger. It had a perfect view of the couch. Then I bought another disguised as a clock for the kitchen. I did not tell anyone. I did not hint. I just watched. And over the next few days, I saw them grow bolder. Emma started wearing my perfume. I noticed it one afternoon when she hugged me. The scent was my scent. Vanilla and jasmine. The perfume my husband bought me for our anniversary. Then she started using my mug. The mug that said World Best Wife. Watching her drink from it at my table made my stomach twist, but I kept smiling. They began sharing long looks across the dinner table, thinking I was too distracted by grief to notice. Emma would brush against my husband when passing dishes. He would offer to help her with things she did not need help with. It was like I was watching two people act out an affair in slow motion, right in front of me, inside my own home. One evening, I announced I was going to take a long bath and go to bed early. I ran the bath, turned on music, and then slipped out quietly. I stood near my bedroom door and listened to their voices in the living room. Low. Intimate. Emma laughed softly, and then there was silence. Then the unmistakable sound of kissing. My hands started shaking. I stepped back into the bathroom, climbed into the tub fully clothed, and sat in cold water while tears ran down my face. Not just for my marriage, but for the sister I thought I had. The next day, my husband went to work. Emma stayed home for a bit. I waited until she left the room, then I went into my husband's office. I knew he had an iPad he barely used. I found it in a drawer. It was still logged into his messages. My heart pounded as I scrolled. The messages between him and Emma went back months. Back to when I announced my pregnancy. Emma wrote that I always had everything. The perfect husband, the perfect life, and now a baby too. She wrote that I did not deserve it. My husband replied that Emma was the one he thought about. I felt sick. They were planning this long before my miscarriage. Then I saw a message that made my blood turn cold. 2 weeks before I lost the baby, Emma asked about the prenatal vitamins my husband got me. She asked if he was sure they were safe, because the dosage looked high. My husband replied that the pharmacist said they were fine and told her to stop worrying. I stared at the screen. The prenatal vitamins. The ones my doctor later said I was not supposed to take. The ones that could have contributed to complications. My hands shook as I took photos of every message. Then I put the iPad back exactly where I found it. That afternoon, I went to the bathroom cabinet where I kept the vitamins. The bottle was still there. I poured the remaining pills into a small bag and hid them in my purse. Emma came home smiling at 5, talking about her day like we were sisters having a normal life. I listened. I nodded. I acted grateful. When she went to shower, I slipped into her room. Her phone was charging. I knew her passcode because she never changed it. It was our childhood address. I unlocked it and went to her photos. There they were. Pictures of Emma and my husband. Some were taken inside my house while I slept upstairs. Others were worse. In one photo, she wore my red lingerie, the set my husband bought me for Valentine's Day that I thought I lost. I heard the shower turning off and put the phone back. When Emma came out, I was in the kitchen making tea, calm as ever. I offered her a cup. She said sure. And I noticed she was wearing my body lotion too, the expensive one I saved for special days. That night at dinner, I announced I was thinking about visiting our parents for a week. I said I needed a change of scenery. Maybe being in my childhood room would help me process. Emma and my husband exchanged a quick glance. My husband said it was a great idea, trying not to sound too eager. Emma said not to worry about them, that they would manage, and that I should focus on healing. I smiled and thanked them. Inside, I was building a trap. The next morning, I drove 3 towns over to a private lab. I paid cash. I gave a fake name. I handed them the vitamins and asked them to test the ingredients and dosage. They said results would take about a week. While I waited, I kept acting like the broken wife. I called my parents loudly while Emma and my husband could hear me, talking about my upcoming visit. I packed slowly, making a big show of being unsure what to bring. Then I did something else. I reached out to Emma's ex-boyfriend, Klaus. They dated for 3 years before she dumped him suddenly. I remembered him as a kind man who looked blindsided when they broke up. I messaged him and said I needed to ask him something important about Emma. He responded within an hour. We met at a coffee shop 2 hours away. I told my husband I was going to therapy. Klaus looked older and tired when he walked in. He ordered black coffee and asked what was going on. I took a breath and told him Emma was living with me and I believed she was sleeping with my husband. His face darkened. He said he was not surprised. That hit me like a slap. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots he kept. Messages where Emma bragged to friends about manipulating men. She wrote that Klaus was stupid and thought she loved him, but she liked the apartment and the fact he paid for everything. Klaus said Emma did the same thing to her college roommate. She seduced the roommate's boyfriend and moved into their apartment after the breakup. He said it was a pattern with her. I felt sick, but I also felt confirmed. I asked Klaus for copies. He sent them right away. Before I left, he warned me that Emma was dangerous when cornered. A few days later, the lab results came back. Positive. The vitamins contained 3 times the recommended dose of vitamin A, along with herbs that were not safe in pregnancy. The report stated clearly that long use could lead to pregnancy complications. I sat in my car in the lab parking lot staring at the report. My throat felt tight. I kept thinking about my baby. About the day I lost her. About the gray blanket of grief. Maybe it was not random. Maybe it was not just tragedy. Maybe it was selfish people taking risks they did not care about because they were focused on their affair. I made copies of everything. The lab report. The iPad messages. The screenshots from Klaus. I put one set in a safety deposit box at the bank. I hid another set at a friend's house. And I kept the originals with me. 3 days before my supposed trip to my parents, I set the final pieces. I called my parents and asked them to visit us on Saturday as a surprise. My mother sounded confused because she thought I was coming to them. I said plans changed. I said I wanted them to see how well Emma was taking care of me. I told them not to tell Emma, because I wanted it to be a surprise. My mother agreed instantly, eager to watch Emma shine like always. Then I installed one more camera. This one in my bedroom, hidden inside an air freshener on the dresser. It had a clear view of the bed. Friday night, I put on my final act. At dinner, I told them I was taking sleeping pills prescribed by the doctor to help with nightmares. I said they made me sleepy fast. I watched Emma and my husband exchange a look. Emma offered to make me tea. I thanked her and watched carefully. She stood with her back to me while she added something to the cup. When she handed it to me, I smiled and took a big sip. Then I announced I was going to bed early so I could leave early the next morning. In my bedroom, I poured the tea down the bathroom sink. Then I got into bed fully dressed. I waited. Around 11, my bedroom door opened. I heard my husband whisper that I was out cold and the pills worked fast. I heard Emma whisper back. Then I heard them leave. Through the crack under the door, I saw the light from the hallway as they walked toward the guest room. I waited an hour, then slipped out quietly. I went down to the basement. Earlier, I set up a hiding spot behind old boxes with blankets, water, and my phone. I stayed there. I listened. Above me, my husband and my sister were sleeping together in my house while they thought I was drugged upstairs. The next morning, I heard them laughing and making breakfast. Emma hummed a song she used to hum as a kid, the kind of sound she made when she felt proud of herself. At noon, I heard the front door open. My mother's voice rang out, excited and loud. She shouted surprise and said she wanted to see her girls. There was a crash in the kitchen. I heard Emma panic. My father asked where I was. My husband stammered that I went to visit them. My mother said no because I called her and said I was staying here. That was my moment. I walked up from the basement stairs, still wearing yesterday clothes, holding my phone up and recording. I told them calmly that I was right here. The look on Emma's face was priceless. White. Frozen. My husband opened and closed his mouth like a fish. My parents stood stiff in the doorway, confused and stunned. I told them I was in the basement all night, documenting everything, just like I have been documenting for weeks. Then I looked at my parents and said their golden daughter was sleeping with my husband. But that was not even the worst part. I pulled out the lab report and told them Emma and my husband tampered with my prenatal vitamins and those vitamins caused my miscarriage. Emma shrieked that it was insane and said I was crazy. She grabbed my husband's arm and demanded he tell them the truth. But he was staring at the papers in my hand, recognizing the messages from his iPad. I said I had everything. Messages, photos, videos, screenshots from Emma's ex-boyfriend. I even said Klaus sends his regards. My mother sank into a chair. My father looked like his brain was trying to reject the reality in front of him. I handed my mother the evidence and told her to read for herself. Emma tried to run toward her room, probably for her phone. I blocked her. I asked if she was looking for her phone. I told her I already sent the lingerie photos to Klaus, and he was posting them along with her old messages about manipulating people. Emma screamed that I could not do that. I said I already did. Then I looked at my husband and told him the divorce papers were on his desk, and I pointed out the part about criminal charges related to what they did with the vitamins. My husband fell to his knees begging. He said they never meant for the baby. I cut him off and told him to save it for the police. My father, who was silent the whole time, stood up slowly, his face purple. For a second I worried his anger would turn on me. But he stared at Emma and told her to get out. He said to leave the house and never contact this family again. Emma called him daddy and begged. He said she was not his daughter anymore. My mother would not even look at Emma. Within an hour, Emma and my husband were gone. Emma left with bags, sobbing and cursing. My husband left with a suitcase, realizing he threw away his entire life for a woman who played him too. I stood in the empty house with my parents. My mother cried. My father apologized for never believing me about the favoritism, for always choosing Emma. But I was not really listening anymore. I was thinking about my baby girl, the one who never got a chance, because two selfish people decided their affair mattered more than my child life. I had lost my sister, my husband, my baby. But I had proof, and I had control of the truth. The house felt lighter, like poison finally drained out. I put my hand on my empty belly and whispered that I got them, baby girl. I got them both. My parents stayed for a while, sitting in shock. My mother tried to touch my arm, but I pulled away gently and told her not yet. Not because I hated her, but because everything inside me was raw. I called my lawyer that day. She was ready. She told me this helped the case, because my parents witnessed the confrontation and that mattered. She asked if the evidence was secured. I told her yes, multiple copies. She told me to try to rest, because next week would be intense. After the call, I walked through my bedroom and saw the bed where my husband slept beside me while texting my sister. I saw my dresser where Emma tried on my jewelry. I saw the bathroom where I cried in cold water that night I heard them kiss. I stripped the bed and threw the sheets in trash bags. I went through drawers, closets, and removed every trace of him. Cologne, photos, gifts. I dragged the bags downstairs. My father offered to take them out. He said please let him do this one thing. My mother stared at the evidence like it could burn her hands. She whispered that she failed me all my life. I said yes, simply because it was true. She admitted Emma called her last month, claiming I was paranoid and delusional, and my mother believed her. I told my mother she always believed Emma. My father came back inside and said the neighbors were starting to talk. I said let them talk, they will know the truth soon enough. Then the call started. A woman named Sarah called and said Emma did the same thing to her years ago, moved in and stole her boyfriend and destroyed her social circle. Sarah said she tried to warn people, but Emma made her look crazy. Sarah said she would provide a statement. That was when I realized Emma had more victims than I knew. That evening, we ordered food but none of us ate much. My mother asked where I would stay. She begged me not to be alone. I told her this was my home and I was not leaving. They left reluctantly after I promised to call if I needed help. The moment they left, I locked the door and stood in silence. The house felt hollow but also clean, like a wound that finally stopped being infected. I went into the guest room where Emma stayed and found more of my things. Jewelry I thought I lost. A scarf my grandmother gave me. And then I found something that made me shake. A small photo album I started for the baby. Ultrasound pictures. A tiny onesie I bought when I first found out. I thought I lost it in my grief fog, but Emma took it. I sat on the floor holding that album and cried properly for the first time in months. Not just messy grief tears, but deep tears, like my body was draining poison. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It said I ruined everything and this was not over. Emma. She already had a new number. I screenshotted it and sent it to my lawyer, then blocked the number. A few minutes later, another unknown number. This one begged me to talk. My husband. I screenshotted, forwarded, blocked. It became a pattern. New numbers. Messages swinging between threats and apologies. I documented everything. Around midnight, I saw my husband's car outside, idling at the curb. He sat there staring at the house. I called the police non-emergency line and filed a report. He drove off before the patrol car arrived, but I still created a paper trail. That night I barely slept. Every noise made me jump. Even though I changed the locks weeks earlier, I still felt exposed. The next morning, my front lawn was covered in expensive flowers, the kind my husband used to bring after business trips. Now I suspected those flowers were guilt gifts after time with Emma. I photographed them and threw them away. My neighbor watched from her window, then disappeared. My lawyer called and said my husband retained counsel and wanted mediation. I said no mediation. Not after what they did. My lawyer warned me they would claim the vitamin issue was an accident. I told her the messages proved they discussed dosage. She agreed but said they will try to paint me as a grieving woman looking for someone to blame. Then she told me Emma's lawyer reached out too. Emma was claiming defamation because of social media posts. I laughed bitterly because I did not post them, Klaus did. But Emma claimed I orchestrated it. My lawyer said she would handle it and warned me they would fight dirty. That day I checked social media. Klaus posts were spreading fast. Comments were full of shock, support for me, and more victim stories. Then I saw Emma post from a new account. She painted herself as the victim. She claimed she was trying to help her grieving sister, but I became paranoid and delusional. She posted photos of me at my lowest, in pajamas, hair unwashed, looking unstable. Photos I did not even know she took. Her comments were mixed. Some people believed her. Others questioned her. But damage was being done. I called Klaus and told him she was trying to flip the story. He said that is her playbook. He said this time there is too much evidence and too many people coming forward. My parents visited again. My father installed more security cameras around the property. My mother sat with me, and we removed every photo of Emma from family albums. My mother kept saying how did she not see it, and I told her the truth. She chose not to see it, because it was easier to have one perfect daughter than face reality. We burned the photos in the fire pit. Watching Emma's smile turn into ash felt symbolic. Then my husband's mother called. She said it was a misunderstanding. She said her son would never hurt me on purpose. She called Emma sweet. I told her son had an affair with my sister while I mourned, and the vitamins were not a mistake. She refused to believe it and said I was not thinking clearly. I told her I was thinking clearly for the first time in months and told her not to call again. Then Monday came and the legal storm began. My lawyer filed for divorce, citing adultery and serious harm. The criminal investigation opened for the vitamins. Emma got served papers for harassment. I returned to work for the first time since the miscarriage. I needed structure. My coworkers were awkward and sympathetic. You can feel when people heard gossip but do not know what to say. At lunch, I sat in my car and checked social media again. Emma kept posting lies. Klaus and Sarah and other victims kept countering with receipts. It became a war of narratives, and Emma was good at playing victim. As I headed back inside, I saw my husband at the building entrance holding flowers. My stomach dropped. I called security and they escorted him away. He mouthed please at me through the window. I looked away. My boss called me in and said she could not let my personal drama affect work. I promised it would not happen again and told her I was pursuing restraining orders. She told me to take the week off paid leave and sort it out, but if it happened again, it would be a problem. When I got home, there was a package at my door with no return address. I called police before opening it. Inside were printed screenshots of Emma's fake messages and a note threatening me to stop lying or people will know what I really am. The officer took it as evidence and told me to keep documenting. That night I added extra locks and pushed furniture against the bedroom door, not because I was being dramatic, but because I stopped trusting what desperate people will do. Then the lab called again. They found something else in the vitamins. A mild sedative. Not enough to knock me out instantly, but enough to keep me tired and confused over time. I got sick to my stomach. I remembered how exhausted I felt early in pregnancy, how my husband insisted I keep taking the vitamins for the baby health, how Emma always handed me water to swallow them. They were weakening me from the start. That changed everything. Emma posted another video soon after. In it she had bruises, claiming I attacked her. The bruises looked real to strangers. People started believing her. Some even started raising money for her. My lawyer said we needed to respond carefully. She asked if we had security footage of Emma packing. We did not have perfect footage. My parents would testify, but Emma already attacked their credibility in her story. Then my tires got slashed. All four. Security footage showed someone in a hood. I could not see a face, but I recognized the way one person leaned slightly, like my husband's old injury. Police took the report but warned it might not be enough for an arrest. At work the next day, Emma showed up in the lobby causing a scene with her bandages and tears. She pointed at me and called me the woman who destroyed her life. People stared. I kept walking. Then Emma screamed something cruel about my baby, implying I caused the miscarriage with my weakness and neglect. The lobby went silent. I turned slowly and faced her. I did not scream. I stayed calm. I listed evidence out loud, enough for witnesses to hear. Pharmacy receipts, lab results, messages, statements from victims. Emma's face went pale for a second. Security escorted her out, but her confident mask cracked. My boss told me again to take leave. At home, I found more flowers and another apology note from my husband. I photographed it and added it to my file. Klaus called and said people were debunking Emma's bruises, noticing inconsistencies. He also told me something bigger. He hired a private investigator after Emma broke up with him and found more of her past. He said Emma was expelled from a college for dishonesty and tried to accuse a professor to escape consequences. He said my parents paid to clean it up and transferred her. I was not surprised. I was just tired. Another letter came. Emma sued me for defamation and emotional distress, demanding a huge amount of money. My lawyer laughed and said Emma was desperate and it would not go far, but it showed panic. The detective called. They interviewed the pharmacist. The pharmacist remembered my husband asking questions about interactions and side effects. The pharmacist warned him about vitamin A risk. My husband said it was fine and claimed the doctor recommended it. The doctor denied recommending it and said he warned against high vitamin A. The net was tightening. Then my door got spray painted with liar in red paint. Even the cameras got sprayed. But they still caught a glimpse of two figures. Police came again. My neighbor finally spoke up and said she saw my husband and Emma near my house late at night. Another witness. Another piece. My mother called saying Emma was blackmailing them, threatening to expose family secrets. My mother said they would not give in. The prosecutor met with me and said proving intent to harm the fetus is harder than proving poisoning, because defense will try to frame it as negligence. But the sedative angle was strong. It could carry serious time. That weekend was quiet, which made me more nervous. Then another victim visited, a woman named Melissa, Emma's old college roommate. Melissa warned me Emma does not give up. Melissa described months of harassment after she exposed Emma in college. Dead animals. Rumors. Threats. Melissa handed me more documentation. Emails. Texts. A recording of Emma bragging. I started to see Emma as more than a selfish sister. She was a predator. Then Emma called me from an unknown number. Her voice was cold. She said, "Everything I love will burn." I recorded it and sent it to the detective. He said it was a direct threat and they could arrest her. But when police went to find her, she was gone. Then the detective called again. They arrested my husband. He tried to empty our joint accounts. The bank flagged it. He was charged with theft too. One down. But Emma was still out there. That night I stood in the nursery I never finished. The crib still in a box. The walls half painted. It was supposed to be a room full of life. Instead, it was a monument to betrayal. I put my hand on my belly and whispered that I would finish this for my baby. Then the detective called Monday morning. They found Emma at a motel near my parents' area. But she was with a man they did not identify. Minutes later, a delivery arrived at my house. A package. Inside was a USB drive and a note from Emma telling me to watch it before I do something I regret. Police and tech came quickly. We watched the video together. Emma sat in a motel room. Behind her stood a doctor I recognized. The doctor claimed he tampered with the vitamins, not my husband and Emma. He admitted he had an affair with Emma and she convinced him to prescribe dangerous vitamins. He sounded bitter, saying Emma used him. Emma looked calm and said if she goes down, everyone goes down, and my case falls apart when people learn how many were involved. Then Emma called, smug, and told me to drop charges or she will ruin my reputation by claiming I seduced the doctor and begged for meds. I stayed calm and told her there are cameras outside her motel and people have been watching her. The line went dead. Police moved in. Emma and the doctor were taken into custody. But then my lawyer rushed in later with another problem. My husband made bail and gave an interview claiming I knew about the affair and set them up. He claimed I planned revenge and trapped them. He had fabricated emails. It felt like every time I got a win, 2 new fires started. That same day, Klaus arrived at my house with Sarah and 2 more women. One was a forensic accountant. They showed me records. Emma ran the same con for years. Find someone vulnerable. Create a crisis. Play savior. Drain money. Steal life. The forensic accountant said she found 3 other victims with miscarriages or pregnancy complications tied to doctors Emma connected with. My blood ran cold. My baby was not the first. Then Klaus said the private investigator found something else. Emma's real name was not Emma. She was adopted. Her original name was Christina Mills. There were documents showing she was removed from a birth home after poisoning a younger sibling as a child. Psych evaluations described severe traits, a child with no empathy, high manipulation. I sat there shaking. My parents never told me she was adopted. Then my mother texted that my father had a heart attack and they were at the hospital. I raced there. My mother looked small, broken. She admitted they thought they could save Emma, love her enough to fix her, but there were incidents. Pets dying, kids getting hurt. They should have protected me better. My father in the hospital bed whispered he was sorry and told me they kept documents about Emma past. He told me to use them and stop her. As I left, the prosecutor called. Emma made bail. A bondsman paid. She cut off her ankle monitor and vanished. Fear hit me like ice. Emma was free and had nothing left to lose. Klaus and others offered to stay with my parents, and they sent people to my house so I would not be alone. But my brain went into a different mode. If Emma expects me to hide, she will hunt. If I go on offense, I can control the next step. So I drove to Emma's apartment. The building manager said she was not there and gave me a key for 10 minutes. Inside her apartment, I found trophies from victims. My jewelry. My husband watch. Photos with real family members cut out and Emma face inserted. It was a shrine. In the closet, I found boxes of documents and USB drives. And one box made my heart stop. Medical records. Dozens of women. All lost pregnancies. All had similar vitamins prescribed by doctors tied to Emma. News clippings. Social posts from grieving mothers. It was like she collected tragedy like souvenirs. Then I heard footsteps. The door opened slowly. Emma's voice said she knew I would come. She looked different. Hair dyed. New clothes. Already building another identity. I told her it was over. I called her Christina. Her face twitched and she said that person was dead. I said no, she is standing right here. Emma pulled a syringe from her pocket. She said they will find me overdosed in her apartment, depressed woman who could not cope. My body went cold. We struggled. Boxes fell. The syringe rolled under the bed. Emma lunged for it. I grabbed a heavy bookend, shaped like an angel. I did not even have to hit her, because the apartment door burst open. Police flooded in. Klaus stood behind them holding his phone, saying he recorded everything and it was live saved to the cloud. Emma froze. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She hissed that I planned this. I told her I learned from the best and I wrote my own ending. Police cuffed her. She said it is not over, she always gets out. I told her no because this time she is not facing one victim. She is facing all of us. After that, everything blurred. Emma faced charges for attempted murder, fraud, identity theft, and more. The doctor took a deal to testify. My husband also faced serious charges and accepted a plea. More victims came forward. The story grew bigger than my family. My father recovered slowly. When he came home, he hugged me properly for the first time in years and said they have a lot to make up for if I allow it. I did not forgive instantly. I did not forget. But I watched them finally see the truth. And I kept moving forward. Because I lost my baby. I lost my sister. I lost my marriage. But I gained something that matters when your life has been built on lies. I gained the truth. I gained proof. I gained the strength to stop being the person who gets underestimated. And even though grief will always live in me, I refuse to let betrayal be the thing that finishes me.